Why do diets like carnivore, keto, and paleo get labeled as fads or even dangerous when they clearly work so well for so many people? Is it because they don't work or because they work too well? Stick around because in this video, we're not just exploring the profit motives around these attacks. I'll also reveal how labeling things a conspiracy theory is a convenient way to get you to stop asking the right questions. Before we get into it, do me a massive favor, click the like button and also please subscribe. Now, because of the way YouTube seems to work, sometimes people find that they get unsubscribed even though they thought they were subscribed. Please, if you are already subscribed, just check that in fact you are. And if you're not, please smash that subscribe button again. Thank you so much. For decades, industries that have been profiting from your poor health have been labeling lifestyles like carnivore as unsustainable, dangerous, or extreme. But what's really behind this pushback? In this video, I'll show you how big food, big pharma, and parts of the medical industry have built their empires on keeping you sick and dependent. And by the end, I'll explain why questioning their motives isn't a conspiracy theory, it's just common sense. Let's start with the simplest explanation: money. When you follow the money trail, everything about how diets like carnivore, keto, and paleo are attacked starts to make sense. Big food thrives on ultra-processed foods. These foods are cheap to produce, addictive, and highly profitable. Think about the cereals, snacks, and sodas that dominate the supermarket shelves. They're not there because they're healthy. They're there because they're easy to market and you'll keep coming back for more. All of these products contain sugar or break down to sugar, and sugar triggers the brain in the same way that addictive drugs do. Is it any wonder the sugar industry funded research to shift the blame for cardiovascular disease from sugar to fat? That's not a theory, that's a matter of public record. Now let's talk about big pharma. Chronic illnesses like diabetes and heart disease are cash cows. For example, the diabetes drug market alone is worth $48 billion annually. What incentive do the pharmaceutical companies have to champion a lifestyle like carnivore, which can reverse type 2 diabetes, when they can sell insulin for life? Even the medical industry plays a role here. Doctors often rely on treatment guidelines that focus on managing symptoms rather than addressing root causes. Why is that? Because those guidelines are regularly influenced by organizations like pharmaceutical companies. But taking a look at these things critically is being a conspiracy theorist. The more you rely on big food's food and big pharma's drugs, the more money they make. That's the harsh reality. But it's not just about money, it's about protecting a narrative that's been in place for decades. A narrative that tells you that grains are good, fat is bad, and eating meat will kill you. Let's start with the food pyramid. This iconic image shaped dietary guidelines for decades, prioritizing grains above all else. But here's the thing, those guidelines weren't based on solid science. They were heavily influenced by agricultural lobbyists, and last time I checked, that's not science. The same goes for its modern replacement, MyPlate. These guidelines aren't just wrong, they're actively harmful, promoting diseases like diabetes. Then there's the flawed science behind the low-fat craze. One of the most influential studies was Ancel Key's 7-country study. It linked saturated fat to heart disease. But here's what they don't tell you. He's cherry-picked his data, ignoring countries which had high saturated fat intake and low rates of heart disease. This wasn't science, this was a story concocted to reach a predetermined conclusion. And admitting these mistakes would mean admitting the entire system got it wrong, and has got it wrong for decades. It's much easier to double down on the narrative and label anything else as a fad. We've been taught to fear the food that can heal us because it's easier to control people who believe they need saving from their own choices. Take meat, for example. It's been vilified for decades. Red meat causes cancer. Saturated fat clogs your arteries. Yet most of these assertions are based on observational studies that show correlation, not causation. Meanwhile, plant-based meat alternatives are marketed as clean, healthy, and ethical, while the ingredients list reads like a science experiment. And let's not forget the media plays its part too. Big Food spends billions on advertising, shaping public opinion. Ultra-processed snacks and low-fat products are marketed as health foods, while whole, unprocessed options like steak and eggs are demonized. But why would they do this? Because you can't trademark a real food. There's very little profit in promoting simplicity. And it's not just about protecting their past mistakes, it's about shaping the future in their favor. Plant-based and lab-grown meats are the new frontiers of profit. Companies that produce these products rely on convincing you that traditional diets are outdated and harmful. They partner with organizations like the UN to push these products as a solution to climate change, totally ignoring the health implications of eating ultra-processed foods. This isn't about saving the environment. This is about capturing a new market. Then we've got the diet industry. From low-fat frozen meals to replacement shakes, these products are designed to keep you dependent. A lifestyle like carnivore eliminates the need for these products entirely. Why buy low-fat yogurt or a prepackaged meal when you can eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs and thrive? Finally, let's talk about what this all comes down to. Control. When you take your health into your own hands, you disrupt their system. Diets like carnivore are empowering because they simplify health. No counting, no expensive supplements, just real food. That scares industries built on dependency. If more people realize they don't require pills, powders, or branded products to survive, those industries are going to lose their grip. And, it's not just about profits. It's about institutional authority. Public health institutions, governments, and even doctors would have to admit they've been wrong about nutrition for decades. And that kind of reckoning could shake public trust in these institutions to its core. Now let's talk about that conspiracy theory label. Why is questioning their motives dismissed so quickly? And this has become such a part of our culture these days that someone with a legitimate question will often preface that legitimate question by saying, "I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but..." Let's get something straight. Skepticism is rational. If a car salesman recommended you buy a particular model of car and you found out for that particular model, any sales he got, he was getting an additional kickback, you would question his motives. No one would call you a conspiracy theorist for that. This isn't about shadowy figures, it's about well-documented financial incentives. Asking who profits if I'm wrong and who loses if I'm right isn't a conspiracy. It's common sense. The bottom line is this: diets like carnivore aren't just about the food. They're about reclaiming your health and rejecting systems that profit off your suffering. The next time someone dismisses this diet as a fad or questions you as a conspiracy theorist, ask them, who benefits if you stay sick? Who loses if you get healthy? Once you ask those questions, the answer becomes crystal clear. And if you want more proof about how messed up the system is, check out this video next.